Hey there, this is Dom here from the Remote Sales Pathway team, and in this video I'll be going over one of my students' calls. His name is Louis and I've been working with him for over 3 months now, and over the past 3 months of us working together, right now he has scaled to making consistent 10K months. He's pacing that 15K a month mark pretty soon too. Last month, the month of February, he collected $112,000. So he basically made $11,000 in commissions. And I just really wanted to check out one of his calls and show you my kind of process of going through calls and seeing what things could be done different and what routes could have been taken. So without any further ado, let's get into it.
So I'm curious because I had a look at the notes that Alan gave me, and I want to hear from you. What is the biggest reason you're even looking to get into Amazon right now?
Um,
So after he asked the opening question, the thing that we're looking for is I myself put down all the bullet points of what the person said. So I'm like staying on a ball. And then I see what logical path we could have taken and what Louis did instead.
well, I mean, the biggest reason is because I want to create something for my son. I want to create something so when I'm gone, there's something there, and I want to set up a future for him. I mean, of course, I mean, I have a great job. I work for the state of Alaska. You're not going to get a better job. I've been there 6 years, um, but that's not going to set a future up for my son. I'd like to have obviously more, more finances to do more things, and have more freedom. If I have a second income coming in, then if I take off of work and I don't have leave, then it's not a big deal. Um, Eventually, if I was making the income I, wanted to make, then I would quit my job and I would do that, just do that and
Yeah,
be home, So
yeah.
that's where I'm at.
And so how old is your son right now?
Okay, so right now, basically, what I wrote down is that she wants to create something for her son because she wants to set up a future for him. And with the current job that she's in right now, she's working for the state of Alaska and she's been doing this for the past 6 years. She just isn't able to set up the future for her son. And she also mentioned things like more finances would allow her to do more things. And of course, she also mentioned that she's looking for more of that freedom. And if she managed to reach the point where she makes her current income through Amazon FBA, she would just quit her job as a whole. So right now we got a couple of points and we might be thinking, okay, so where do we actually dig? Now think about it. What does your intuition say? She talked about her son, creating a future for her son. Of course, freedom is important, doing things that the person wants to do are really important. But right now, I would just summarize and I would dig straight into like the actual future for the son. So I heard Louis already asked about how old is the son. I will be honest, I do think it's kind of like a question that he latched onto. Like this question wasn't made out of presence because it was like just heard that son and he's like, oh, how old is he? Right? Of course, that's it. That's important. But what I always like to do after a person gives me something is I just summarize. Like I just do a summary, really simple summary of what the person laid out using their exact language. So let's see what Louis did here.
He's 7.
Okay, so he's still like a kid in a sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm old. I'm 50. So, I got to do something now.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. And you mentioned like your state, you're working for the state of Alaska. It's good, but it's not going to set you up for your future. You feel like it's not going to give you that like money that you want. How much are you earning right now working for the state of Alaska?
I make almost 31 an hour.
Okay, 31 an hour.
Mhm.
And how many hours do you work a week?
I work 37 and a half.
37 and a half. Okay. And so you probably know your finances and the math better, but how much does that equate to on like a weekly or monthly basis? Like what does your paycheck come out to?
So my take home's maybe 33.
Okay, 3,300 a month.
Yeah.
Right. 3,300 a month. And I'm not too sure what the expenses are like in Alaska, but what are your monthly expenses add up to each month?
My monthly expenses are they're probably around 3.
Right. So that really leaves you with $300 a month.
Right. And so now I'm working a second job as a server.
How long you been?
Yeah. So that's the exact thing that I would have done because the thing that I was curious in the beginning, it's like, okay, so what's the cause? The cause is, we got to understand the cause. Like, what about her current job doesn't allow her to set up a future for her son? Getting all of this data. Now we understood that, you know, she's making 3,300 a month. Her expenses add up to about 3K a month. And now she only has about $300 that she can play around with at the end of the month. Of course, we also don't want to have this preconceived notion of, oh, the prospect might be disqualified because it's not saving enough money, but it also might be a good question to, you know, kind of hit up and stuff. So right now that I understood the actual cause, I'm thinking I would still like clarify, bring all the context together, and I would go into like, okay, what about that doesn't allow you to set up a future, for your 7-year-old child. And when she says that, I would understand. Okay, so when you say that you want to set up a future for your son, like what do you mean in the first place? And just kind of dig deeper into that based on what she actually gives me.
Doing that for?
I've been doing that since October,
Okay.
and I only work a couple nights a week. So basically, I'm just working myself to death.
And how many hours is a couple nights a week?
Sometimes it could be 2, sometimes it could be 4.
Per shift? Or in
Yeah.
total? Okay.
Oh, a
two-
week.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
like weekly.
Well, it depends. Sometimes I work 1 day a week. That could be maybe 4 hours. Sometimes I work 2 days a week. That could be, maybe 6 hours, because if it's slow, you get cut. So,
Okay,
You
so
know.
would it be fair to say like 5 hours a week on average?
yeah, probably about 5 hours a week.
Okay, 5
Yeah,
hours a
that's
week,
fair.
20 hours a month then?
Yeah.
Give or take. And how much are you bringing in? How much are you pay per hour being a server?
So I think it's minimum wage. So it's 13 plus tips, and I would say
Mhm.
average on a week.
That's also a great thing that Louis is doing here, because once you think about it, when a person says that they lack, like once a person says that they want something, it means that they lack something. And we have to understand, okay, what about their current situation is not allowing them to have the things that they want to have? Or beyond, of course, beyond future pace, we talk about their current reality. What's bad in their current reality? So basically, understand her whole financial situation, because now, nonetheless, yes, from her actual like government job, she's bringing in about 3,300 a month. 3K goes towards expenses, so she's only able to save about $300 every single month. But we also have to understand, okay, so with her working as like a server, how much does she make from that? Because that will help us understand the financial situation even more, and then we can say, okay, so what about saving up $1,000 a month doesn't allow you to create a future for your son? What about that? And then of course get clarity, what does the person mean by saying future for her son, right? Because nonetheless, all the freedom, all those things like quitting job, it's understandable, but at the root cause, even my gut and my intuition saying like it's something that you adapt over time as you close even more and more and more. My gut saying that the actual future for her son is the most important thing, and that's where we'll have to dig deeper into that. You don't have to go into like with an agenda of like, oh, I have to dig into all of the pain points and stuff. You have to sell the person on the thing that is most important to them.
I would say I probably average 100 to 200 a week in tips.
Okay. And that's on top of the minimum wage you're getting, right?
Right.
Okay. So obviously, I know every week is a bit different when it comes to tips and all of that. If you could ballpark how much you're making like a month or even a week, what would that add up to?
I would say, let's go. I'll give it a little. Let's go, maybe 1,000 a month.
Okay. So you're being a server, you're bringing in $1,000 a month, and working for the state of Alaska, you're bringing in around 3,300. But your expenses add up to around, let's say, 3,000. So across both jobs and minusing expenses, that leaves you with around 1,000 to 1,300 left over at the end of the month.
Right.
Is that accurate? Would you feel that that's accurate?
I would say that's accurate.
And you see, the thing that I truly wanted to point out, because what I personally teach, and I really taught this to Louis too, is internal mastery. And internal mastery is really, really important, because if you're afraid of what people will think about you, or you're afraid of challenging the prospect, you're not going to ask these questions and you're not going to get the specifics. Let's just be honest. Like, how many of you would have just folded on asking these financial questions? Like, he found out that she has a second job. He didn't restrain himself from asking these deep financial questions and understanding the whole picture. Like, he just went straight for it. And that's what you should do if you're an authoritative closer with dialed in internal mastery, right? So always remember that that's a really big point. Now I would just go like with you being able to save about $1,300 a month. What about that doesn't allow you to build a future for your son?
Okay. And given that you got like 1,300 left over at the end of a month, what's causing you to feel like that's not enough to set your son up for the future?
Exactly what I said.
Oh, it's absolutely not. I mean, there's just, you know what I mean? There's just my son plays hockey. That's an extremely expensive sport. He's been doing that for a couple of years. He does boxing. He plays baseball,
Sounds
and
like an athlete.
yeah, he is. So, I want to be able for him to do those things. I want to be able to pay for those things and feel comfortable about it. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to have to be like, I don't want you to be able to do, I don't want you can't do this because I can't afford it. But that money there is it's just my money to immediately take care of us now. It doesn't, I have a retirement with the state. But that's not going to do anything for my son. That's just gonna, unless I pass away, and so all that's going to do is take care of me when I get to a place where I can't work anymore.
And what's the typical retirement age in America or even Alaska?
Okay, so over here I would have not went into that. I would have just went straight into the actual juice in terms of like, okay, so you mentioned your son right now, he's playing hockey, he's doing boxing, he's playing baseball too, and you want to make sure that you can pay all of that off and feel comfortable about it. So I'm curious, how does paying it off right now look like? And then the person would say, oh, I'm paying it off completely. It costs about like, and you can even ask, okay, so how much does it cost to pay all of these like hobbies off for your son, or like all of these sports off? Oh, it's about $800. Okay, so knowing that it's still less than what you have left after all of your expenses, like where's the big worry coming from? And then the person will probably reinforce, oh, it's about the future. Okay, and now like knowing that, of course, you mentioned your son plays hockey, boxing, like baseball, and when it comes to setting him up for the future, just to clarify, what do you mean by that specifically? She would maybe say something like, oh, I want him to continue pursuing these actual sports. Okay, and what would be the big roadblock here not allowing you to help him pursue these sports in the future? Oh, it would get more expensive. How expensive, right? It's just like these sort of things, like these layers deeper, just peeling them off, peeling them back. So let's see where Louis went.
Get 65, but they're talking about increasing it
Really?
to 72.
Wow,
So with the
for 7
state,
years.
so with the state of Alaska, normal people when they work a job, they pay into Social Security, right? That's what we have here. So when people retire, they pull their Social Security. You have to have 40 working quarters in order to pull Social Security here in America.
Mhm.
So me being a state of Alaska employee, we don't pay into Social Security. We only pay into our retirement. So when I retire, that's all I have is my retirement.
All right. So typical in America, you have two. You have your like 401k, your retirement fund, and then Social Security. But
Correct.
for you guys in Alaska, you only have your retirement fund.
Because I'm a state employee. Correct. So now that I'm working at Red Robin, now I started paying back into my Social Security, because I've worked other jobs, obviously not with the state, but so now I would start paying again into my Social Security. But if you don't have 40 working quarters when you retire, they're going to
get that.
Yeah, I do understand like why Louis is asking about this and why Louis is talking about this. I will be honest, I don't think it's that important of a thing. If I'm being honest, yes, like getting clarity on it and all that kind of stuff, because nonetheless, it could be an objection of like, oh, I'll just wait till I retire. But the person like explicitly said before that I have to like make sure that I can set him up for the future like right now. If the person's probably not gonna wait till retirement to be able to set up her kid. So I'm wondering where Louis is going there.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
They keep it.
Wow. And do you know how many working quarters you have? Does it tell you, or you know, or?
No, I don't know how many working quarters I have. I'd have to call them and find out where I'm at. Yeah. So
Right.
that's the downside of being a state employee, is that you don't pay into your Social Security. So.
Wow. Interesting. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
For you, when like freedom, because everyone tosses that word around nowadays, financial freedom, time, location, whatever it is, what does freedom and actually building a better future for your son really look like?
Yeah, that's good. I personally would have not tied down the freedom aspect to it. I genuinely just feel like the biggest thing for her is the son. I would have attached the freedom only if I'm like digging deeper into the sun and I see that, you know what, like the prospect's emotions aren't really changing. The prospect doesn't really seem too into it, and I'll just call it out. Hey, Mr. Prospect, like, you know, we're talking about you setting up your son for the future, and as I can imagine, it's definitely an important thing, but is it truly the most important thing that you're trying to solve right now? Like, we'll be honest. That's kind of like the thing that I would be curious about. I wouldn't really dig into freedom separately, because nonetheless, I still sense with my intuition that the biggest thing for her is setting her son up. But good thing that Louis said here is like, what does that actually mean?
You know, you mentioned that sports, you don't want to be the type to can't afford things, but to you, what does freedom look like specifically?
I think freedom looks like being able to spend more time with him, being able to spend more time with my son, being able to have more the ability to, you know, be here with him, um, and being able to do more things with him. That's what freedom looks like to me.
Mm.
You know, because right now I don't. You know, I'm working 2 jobs. You know, I barely see him.
Mm. And if you could ballpark, because I know you don't track how many hours.
Okay, now that's where we got juice. I would sell her on 2 points now. That's what I'm thinking. I would, I definitely would have dug deeper, and maybe Louis does this, into like setting him up for the future. And then also, I would dig deeper into the time that she's spending with him right now. And I'd be curious. Okay, I would just clarify because I will be honest, I probably didn't note that properly. I would reassure, okay, so you mentioned that as like a waitress or like a servant, you work 20 hours per month. So how many hours per month do you work in your like government job? She says, "Oh, I work about like per week, of course. Oh, I work about 40." Okay, so that's 160 hours per month. So that's about like 180 hours a month that you just spend working. So with you spending those 180 hours per month working, what does time with your son look like? And what things are you missing out on specifically? And like just based on what she said, just digging deeper, digging deeper, digging deeper.
You spend time with him, but on like a weekly basis, how much time do you feel like you're spending with him?
That's good.
Um, I would ballpark maybe 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week.
Wow.
Wow. And what do you feel like that's costing you? Like as a mom, I can't imagine. Like I don't have kids myself.
A little additional thing that I do just to kind of, it's called kind of like death by a thousand cuts. What I would genuinely do is I would actually say something like, okay, so of course multiply 7 times 24. What is that exactly? I don't know exactly, but I would like quantify the whole hours for the week. And then I would say, wow, so a week has, this is just like a ballpark number for a top of my head, right? So a week has about 168 hours. And you're only spending 10 of them with your son. Just to kind of like, just throw that out there. Just quantify, because she probably never thought about it she probably never thought about this that way. And that would just dig it in even deeper. And now I would actually go into the same thing that Louis asked, but I wouldn't say what is it costing you, because kind of it's just costing time with their son. I would go into like, and I'm curious, with you only spending 10 hours per week with your son, what time with your son are you missing out on specifically? Like maybe there are events, maybe there are some things that she's missing. She's going to all these like hockey, boxing, baseball practices. Maybe she's not even attending those, right?
Um, and
I feel like it's costing me to get to really know my son. You know what I mean? Like I have older kids, and I was young when I had them, and when you're young compared to when you're old, being a parent, it's, you know, you get to see all the things that you didn't do as a younger parent. And so the things that I want to be able to do with my son now are all the things that I missed the opportunity to do with my older kids. You know, spend more time with them, play outside with them, take them on vacations, take them out camping, um, sit down and play games with them on the floor, you know, or just sit down and talk to them. And so those are the things I want to be able to do. I want to be able to be financially stable so I can have that time. Time is important. You know, you only get one life.
Time is the most valuable resource.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
you can make money, but you can never make your time back.
Right, right. So I've had, I've had the opportunity to be a young mom and see all the things that I missed and I didn't do. And now I want to try to be able to do those with my younger son. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
And when did this goal really become like? When did you come to the realization of I want to spend more time, I want to have more freedom to spend with my time with my son?
I mean, I've been
It's an option. I would use it a bit later. I would dig a couple of layers deeper, but let's see, maybe Louis comes back to it.
This has been a couple years, um, that I've been feeling like this. I've been, watching social media posts and, and watching things the last couple of years and then,
A couple of years, how many? 2, 3, 4?
wanting to start my own business. And I almost bought a coffee shop here, just so that I could, have that extra income so I can have more time with my child. But yeah, it's been a couple of years now.
A couple being like 1, 2, 5.
Exactly.
About two, probably
Okay.
2 years. Yeah.
2 years. And you mentioned that you've been looking at a couple things, watching things. You even wanted to buy your own coffee shop. What really stopped you within that 2 years to actually get started and try something to get you that freedom?
I really, really like that. But I will be honest, we just could have dug a couple of layers deeper. We definitely could have dug a couple of layers deeper into, like, because now we're kind of transitioning into their past attempts and what's been stopping them, which is understandable. That's a thing that we got to do. We got to recognize these limiting behaviors, these actual patterns, and call them out and tie them down to make sure that the person is over them and that the person is willing to take action, right? But the thing here, it's like we still didn't dig deep enough into like building a future, not spending enough time, like truly understanding the emotional weight behind it, right? Like truly going into, so you're spending 10 hours that you don't, like she said, I don't know my son. I want to know my son. Like that's huge. When you say that you want to know your son, like what do you mean by that specifically? It's been 7 years and I barely know anything about him because I've only been spending 10 hours per week. Wow. So you barely know your son. And I'm curious, like also, besides knowing your son, like what actual events are you missing out? Like what time with your son are you missing out on specifically? And based on like what the prospect gives, dig deeper, 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 deeper. Right? And like what was the last time? And how often does it happen? Like so many layers deeper that we could have went. But nonetheless, as y'all can see, me and Louis, we kind of have like a similar way of thinking through the conversations and kind of like figuring out where to go and how to ask things, just because we've been working together for the past 3 months. Nonetheless, nothing is going to be perfect, but Louis, he is a phenomenal closer. Nonetheless, I do really love working with this guy, and the discovery was great. I honestly feel it was great. We definitely just could have dug a couple layers deeper. Like definitely could have dug a couple layers deeper in terms of like building up the future, in terms of spending the time with our son. And before transitioning into everything, into kind of like the past attempts, what I like to do is I always like to throw in a summary, like summarize all of the pain, the whole situation, everything, laid back to the prospect once again with all the specifics, all the nitty-gritty details of the things that are most important to them, and make them reaffirm it once again. Yes, that's accurate. Okay, no, so knowing that's been the case, I mean, how long has it truly been the case for right now? It's been the case for the past 5 years. Wow, 5 years. And when specifically did you realize that you wanted to make a change and that you wanted to do something different? Wow, it was 2 years ago. Okay, and what shifted 2 years ago that then specifically you realized that you wanted to make that change? Right? You see, like, this is what I mean at the end of the day. Definitely could have dug a bit deeper, but nonetheless, Louis, phenomenal closer. This guy is 100% hitting at least a 15K this month, and fucking love this guy. But nonetheless, I'm going to stop here. I just wanted to take y'all through the most important part, which is kind of like the pain digging. Of course, a really, really important part is also understanding what the person has tried and understanding their like limiting beliefs and all those kind of things. But I just wanted y'all to see how I go through reviewing calls for others, what my way of thinking is when I go into the conversation, the small little nuances that I do. And if there are any questions, don't even hesitate to reach out. And if you're interested in hearing more, or maybe even interested in working together with me, also let me know. We can talk about something.